Welcome back to Cortex. On this episode, I am honored to be joined by Hank Green. Hank is an OG YouTuber with the channel Vlogbrothers that he runs with his brother, John Green. And over the last 18 years, he has become a huge figure in cultural and science communication. As Vlogbrothers grew into projects like Crash Course, Complexly, DFTBA, and many more. I think Hank Green is one of the best communicators of our time, and I personally just feel smarter because I watch his content. Hank was one of the people at the very top of my list when I started this series. As you'll hear, he is an incredibly busy man, and I really wanted to know how he handles everything that he somehow manages to do, especially given the rate at which he comes up with new ideas. Like this year, he shipped an iOS app that became the #1 app in America. This man is non-stop. Before we get started with the interview, I want to mention something we're doing with Moretex right now. I'll talk about this at the end of the episode, but we are running our annual holiday sale. You can get 20% off an annual plan of Moretex by going to getmoretex.com and using the code 2025holidays at checkout. The Moretex for this episode is really good. Hank and I talk about what makes a great podcast and why PodCon didn't work. So if you stop right now, actually, and sign up for Moretex, you're going to hear this whole conversation with no advertising interruptions. That's at getmoretex.com and use the code 2025holidays at checkout. You'll also find the link in the show notes that automatically applies the discount. But I'll tell you more about that later. For now, please enjoy my conversation with Hank Green. So Hank, I want to get started by asking you the question I ask all my guests.
Yes.
What device is the most important to you for getting your work done?
I mean, the computer.
Yeah. Okay. What computer is that for you?
Oh, it's a Mac Studio. Because I primarily see myself now as a YouTuber. There have been times when, Twitter or Tumblr or TikTok took over. But throughout all of it, I've been a YouTuber and I've never edited a YouTube video on my phone. I've edited TikToks on my phone, but I edit in Premiere and I have tools with which to do that. And if you wanted me to edit a YouTube video on my phone, I'd be really mad.
Because even as a video creator, my assumption would be, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that the amount of views that you receive is higher on your social platforms than it is on YouTube.
Yeah, but not really.
They're not the ones you want, right? Like as such.
I mean, it's not just that it's not the ones I want. It's that I don't believe them.
Yep.
I think you're counting a view at 3 seconds, and I don't think that counts. And I think that YouTube is counting a view at some percentage of the full watch time of the video, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, something like that. And the initial drop off is so fast that if you move that up 1 second, if you go from 5 seconds to 3 seconds, you can have double the number of views, especially on something like a TikTok. But yeah, it's both. I don't believe the number and the quality of the view and the relationship that you build with the audience is very different. So
yeah,
I try not to think of those as being related metrics, honestly.
That makes sense. I don't want to give YouTube a bad idea here, but why do you think it is that they are more diligent with what they count as a view?
I think advertisers. Interestingly, TikTok actually counts views in 2 different ways. They count views and they count qualified views. So a qualified view is a larger bar, and it's the only ones that actually get monetized on the platform.
This is the real view.
That's the actual view. And if you go into your analytics and you look at your qualified views and you're like, why is that number so low? It's because the actual number of views is the lie.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. So preparing for this episode, of all of the episodes in this series so far, this is the most daunting because of the sheer amount of things that you do. So as far as I can work out, you are a YouTuber with 2 very successful accounts, Vlogbrothers and Hank's channel. You're a host for Crash Course. You create viral education content on social platforms like TikTok and Instagram. You're a best-selling author. You have a #1 hit app in Focus Friend. And you're a founder of and have responsibilities for creator merch company DFTBA and consumer goods company Good.Store. That is a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I also host SciShow.
And dear Hank and John, yes, you are a podcaster too. Hilariously, I left out the podcast.
Yeah, I've never been one for traditional media. I recently did like a traditional shoot, like a TV type shoot. And at one point, the director was like, so how is it? Is it interesting? Is it exciting? Like, is it how you thought it would be? And I was like, I was honest in a way I probably shouldn't have been, where I was like, I've never cared about this. I don't right now, I'm doing it for other reasons than my excitement about this. It was very interesting. Like, I love to see how things get created. And that is part of why I was doing it, just out of like pure curiosity to see that from the inside. I also wanted to test out some of my own abilities. Like, I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to like write for Scientific American. That was my dream. And I actually have written for Scientific American now. But because magazines became like not a thing during my career, certainly not like a growing industry, my interest has always been in like the impact wherever it is. And so I just kind of chase it around.
Which results in many, many areas.
Yeah. I have a very hard time seeing an opportunity and not taking it.
That is the impression that I've gotten from you, maybe just even in the last couple of years. And I think
Yeah.
Focus Friend, which is a wonderful app around kind of time focus that you've a part of the creation of. I think that was like an example to me of like, really, that doesn't really fall in neatly with any of the things.
Yeah. So this came together because I was on my stand-up comedy tour, which is another thing we didn't mention.
I think this episode is going to be just a litter of things that I did not pull out from my research of things that you do.
So I was doing a stand-up show in Brea, and my friend Jabril, he's a YouTuber. He's like does computer science stuff. And Jabril lives around there. He came out to see me, and he brought his fiance at the time. And then I brought a friend as well. And my friend and Jabril spent all their time together talking. And I've talked very little with either of my friends. And it's been almost all of my time talking with Bria, who is Jabril's partner. And she is an app developer. And what I was so obsessed with is like that she sees the App Store as a platform that people create content on, and then their content competes with each other on this very tightly regulated platform. That I did not understand that at all. And I was like, this is fascinating. And she was like, I have always thought that I should partner with creators to make their thing. And then that will be like another way of breaking through the noise of the app stores. And I was fascinated by that. And so we kept in touch, and then we started ideating a little while after that. So it is in like a weird way. It's kind of the same thing where you're trying to find a way to get people's attention on a platform on which everyone is doing that.
Considering all of these responsibilities that you have, what on earth is your to-do system? Like, how are you keeping track of the tasks that you have to complete on a daily basis?
I feel like I'm going to break your entire business model here. I use Google Tasks.
Well, you're using one. I thought you were going to say you didn't use one. And I was like, well, it was great to speak to you.
I use Google Tasks, and I use the Notes app. And I also use ChatGPT some for like holding ideas.
Oh, okay.
So like oftentimes when I have an idea for a video, I used to just put that in the Notes app, but now I sometimes will type it into ChatGPT to just get that like initial feedback of this is a bad idea. I mean, it will never tell you it's a bad idea. It will tell you your idea is genius every time. And maybe that's what I need. I need another voice in my ear being like, you're smart, boy.
We just need the ultimate yes man in our pocket. Like, I use it for like checking spelling and punctuation and grammar in long things that I write, like blog posts and stuff.
Oh, wow. Yeah. The nice thing about YouTube is that I don't have to worry about this.
I've never been good at it, and I've always been very hesitant about writing on the internet because I'm not very confident in my grammar. And it's actually, it empowers me to do that because it's like a quick way to get it done. But every blog post I put into it, like, oh man, this is one of your best. Like, they can't all
be. Yeah. But yeah, in the ChatGPT projects, you can like put in the idea, and then I can also like stick in websites and PDFs and stuff, like papers, and then it's just all in one place, and it's like digesting it for me a little bit, where I can ask it things about this, and I could be like, I read these 3 papers, which was the paper that had this data in it? And it's just like, that's very nice to have, because, you know, it's not pointing me to something that I don't know is credible. It's pointing me to a thing inside of a thing I've already read.
Yeah.
What I will say, in terms of like my everyday, like all of the things I have to do, the project management system is deeply dependent upon my assistant, Erin, who reads my emails. She knows me really well. So she's like, you might want to respond to this. It goes in the you might want to respond to this list. If it's like, if you don't do this, somebody can't do their job, it goes on a list called now. And so that's like a list for when somebody's waiting for me. And it really sucks to not be able to do your job because you're waiting on like a 2-sentence email from somebody. But sometimes the now list also has like big annoying projects on it.
Are you a blocker? sometimes of work? And is that something that you struggle with?
So I have 2-hour blocks scheduled regularly that are unscheduled.
Okay.
And sometimes those are scheduled for things like write the proposal for this. And that kind of annoys me
Yep.
because then that's not really an unscheduled block. But the reality is that like that isn't going to get done if I don't schedule a time to do it. And then the other problem is that like if I don't do that, I will fill up every moment. Like Myke emails me and is like, "Can you do Cortex?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I want to do Cortex." But what did I say when you emailed me about Cortex? What did I tell you?
You said, I'm working on something right now, a book.
Yeah.
And can we do it later? And I was like, sure.
Yeah.
I was just happy you said yes. You know what I mean? I don't care if we do it in 6
Yeah.
months. Like, I was just happy you said yes.
Yeah. So I pushed it, and I do that a lot because I do want to say yes to everything, but I have had to come to the realization that if I say yes and schedule it within the next 2 weeks, that's doing everything. But if
Yeah.
I say yes and I'm like, okay, Aaron, find a time on a week where we currently have a Friday where I'm okay, you know? So I try to schedule a lot of unscheduled time, and I try to leave all of Thursday unscheduled.
The lists that you mentioned that your
Yeah.
assistant is putting together, where are they?
They're in Google Tasks.
Okay. So you share their Google Tasks with her, and then they will put all this stuff in for you.
Yeah. And then I have an entirely separate system for organizing Hank's channel.
What is that system?
It's an Airtable.
Interesting. Is this collaborative or a private system?
It's collaborative. So it's just me and my main editor, who also manages a few other editors. And it's got Kanbani or something.
Kanban.
Kanban.
Yeah. This is the columns where you move cards from
Yeah.
place to place.
So it's got like 12
Ooh.
columns.
That's a lot of columns.
Yeah, I know. Everything from like, this is an idea to the last one on the list is things that we've made but aren't uploading.
Hey, that's a great one. You've always got to have some stuff in there. You
Yeah,
know?
where it's just like, well, it was an idea. I got the final product and I was like, well, I'll pay everybody for this, but I'm actually, I don't want this on the internet.
Sometimes you can only know once it's done, you know?
I'll see if I can read you if I'm not embarrassed of any of these. There's one called This Will Never Stop Surprising Me, and it was about Elon Musk and his lack of responsibility for anything that he does. It was specifically about assassination of a couple Democratic lawmakers, and within
Yep.
15 minutes, he was blaming the left for it and saying that the left was the party of violence. And I found it shocking then. I find it shocking now.
Yep.
But I just didn't want to deal with it. There's so much context.
Yeah, now it's like the news has moved on so fast that it's like, does it even make sense anymore?
Yeah. Who even remembers that? Yeah.
So over time, it feels like from the outside, your way of starting businesses is you have an idea, you start that business, and you lead that business in some way. And it seems like more recently, you've started stepping back from some leadership positions
Yeah.
to some of the things that you're involved in. How did you manage to do this? And did you find it hard to let go?
I haven't found it that hard to let go, but it has found it hard to let go. So for additional context, around 2 years ago, I was going through cancer treatment.
Yep.
And during that, I had to step back and not be leading out of necessity.
Yeah, that is a way to force you. That will do that.
Yeah, if you're doing cancer treatment, you can't do much.
No.
And for people who don't know me, I'm now in remission and have been, and things look good.
Amazing.
And we had already been looking for leadership at the merchandise company and Good.Store, which are one and the same entity, though they exist separately on their own books.
Yep.
And so that was like both good and bad that we had already done that. It turns out to be like complicated because it was a little like, okay, here's the new CEO and your old CEO is gone. I wasn't there to like do any transitionary work, and that would have been good. And then we had a great and strong operator and Julie Walsh at Complexly. And so for the first little while, John stepped in as CEO, and then he transitioned it over to Julie. And then as I was recovering, it was like 6 months of recovery, and I was just like, Julie's doing a better job than me.
Yep.
And so it just made sense to make that transition. Complexly's transition has been, I think, pretty easy, but it still needs me for all of the things that it needs me for. Like it needs me for, to some extent, strategic stuff where like I am probably the best YouTube strategist, not just at Complexly, but in the Intermountain West. Not to toot my own horn.
Maybe the world. You don't know.
That's right.
You've been doing it for a long time.
I have a level of expertise that I will not deny.
Yeah.
As a host, I'm good at that and cheap for Complexly. I'm not
Yeah.
cheap for anybody else.
Complexly manages Crash Course and SciShow and
Eons, Bizarre Beasts. We've got a bunch of educational properties on YouTube and looking to continue to increase that. And then I think Complexly is pretty reliant on me for fundraising. So Complexly is crowdfunded about a third of its revenue.
Yep.
And would not work without that. Like, I think SciShow might be able to work in a scaled down version without crowdfunding. Everything else couldn't even work scaled down, except for Eons. Eons could because it's funded by PBS. And that's really important to me. And it's work that I quite enjoy. It's also like in terms of like the amount of work per dollar generated, it's the best use of my time that I've ever found, because like the amount of value that Complexly is creating is very obvious to people, but the credible ask coming from me, I think, is even stronger with me not being the CEO, with me being like a fan more than anything.
So in these businesses, say like with Good.Store and stuff like that, do you ever have to contend with people wanting to do things differently to how you would do them?
Oh, for sure. I have this struggle on SciShow because SciShow is my baby. Crash
Yep.
Course was John's baby. And honestly, and like this is the crazy thing, they're just safer than me. They play it safer. I'm like, you could do that. You can make a little bit of clickbait. You can use a video that you haven't quite got the rights to. You know, it's probably fine.
This is coming from the best YouTube strategist in the Midwest. You know?
And they're like, no, actually, Hank, we can't do that. Like, I remember one time I was working on something for SciShow and I got fact checked. And they were like, what's your source? And I was like, the theory of evolution. Like, I don't have a source for this. Charles Darwin's idea of evolution through natural selection is my source for this. I'm making a bold statement here that, like, if something survives, there will be more of it. And the great thing about Hank's channel, about like my personal channel, is I can make a video that's like, one of my popular videos this year was called The Hardest Problem Evolution Ever Solved. That's not a scientific thought. That's my judgment. And it's also wrong. Like, the video is about the transition from the water to the land, which is a very hard problem. But in terms of like the thing that happened the fewest number of times, it's endosymbiosis in the mitochondria. But like, you know, I really wanted to make this video about the difficulty of vertebrates getting from water to land, and like how the things that you would think would be the hard parts of that were not actually the hard parts. The hard parts were things that you wouldn't think of, like vision being different in the air and like water needing to stay inside of your body and not having to worry about drying out, which you don't have to do in the ocean. But I also wanted to get views on that video.
Yep.
You know? So I put it inside of the frame of like, this is the hardest problem evolution ever solved, which I think everybody knows that that's like my opinion. So that's something that SciShow would never do.
So at this point, like, SciShow is like the job that you work at, and then Hank's channel is your side thing where you can do all the stuff that your job won't let you do.
For sure. I mean, I'm working on this book about the biology of cancer too, and it's so wild to like send it off to oncologists, and they're like, no, this isn't right. And I'm like, yeah, it is. And I'm like, some guy, I feel such a dick where I'm like, they'll be saying like, you can't say that cancer is a living organism. And I'm like, okay, but there are contagious cancers that have existed for thousands of years, and they spread from organism to organism, and they are genetically different from that organism now. They have evolved to lose most of their chromosomes and most of their abilities. They've evolved to be non-lethal so that they can survive longer. How is that not an organism? And they're like, well, in that case it is. And I'm like, well, I feel like I'm safe drawing the line at a slightly different place than you.
Yeah, well, this is the difference. You're not an oncologist. Like, just play one in the internet. Like, what do you want?
The other thing is that oncologists, and I had to discover this, they're not biologists, you know. The first interviews I had with oncologists, they were like, I don't know about any of this stuff. I was like, what do you know about? And they're like, I know how to treat cancer. And I'm like, yeah, that's a good point. That's your job.
You don't need to know where it comes from. You just need to know how to fix it.
Yeah, like the biologists, the researchers do, but like the people treating it, they need to understand how to read scientific studies, how to dose chemotherapy, how to correctly order treatments, and how to have good relationships with patients.
Yeah. This episode is brought to you by the Subtle Range from Cortex brand, and this really is your last chance to get something from this collection. The Subtle Range is our line of high-quality apparel featuring simple, tasteful pieces that you can wear every single day. I wear something from the Subtle Range all the time. Today is one of our new quarter-zip pullovers, which I have been so impressed with. We've got wonderful t-shirts which come in both a lightweight version, which is soft and perfectly fitted, and a heavyweight option too, which is a slightly oversized fit that feels a bit more elevated. That's my personal favorite. We also have a sweatshirt, which is a classic, clean, comfortable fit, which is built to last, and we have our lightweight hoodie, which I wear all year. And this year, we've added that quarter zip pullover, which is a new style that's perfect for office environments or anywhere that you want to look smart and put together. But here is the thing I need you to know. The Subtle Range is only available for a short time every year, and this campaign ends on November 18th. After that, everything is off sale. So if you've been thinking about it, don't wait, because once it's gone, it is gone. Head to cortexbrand.com right now to see the full collection and grab something before the sale closes on November 18th. That's cortexbrand.com. I would love to know a little bit about what a typical workday looks like for you. So we've mentioned that you set yourself some time, which is to deal with the non-normal things, right? So you're setting your own structured time. But do you have like a set schedule that you follow? Like, for example, do you block out all of Tuesday to make a Vlogbrothers video? Like, do your weeks shape look roughly the same?
Yes, not always. And like whenever something weird happens, it messes up the weeks before and after, and that is pretty constant. But Thursdays are SciShow days, so usually I'll just go to the gym and then hang out with my wife, and then the rest of the day is SciShow. Did I say Thursday or did I say Tuesday?
Thursday, you said.
It's in fact Tuesday. And then Thursdays are Vlogbrothers days, where I have the whole day unscheduled so that I can work on Vlogbrothers, which my Friday is my Vlogbrothers upload day. I know that on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm not going to do much else. Dear Hank and John moves around right now, which isn't ideal. But just because John and I have such weird schedules, we've been having a hard time finding a solid day for that. But yeah, other than that, I try to keep a big block of 2 to 3 hours in the middle of the day. It usually ends up being 2, and sometimes is 90 minutes. And then when the later hours from 2 or 3 on is when I do meetings.
I was going to ask you about meetings. It seems like you would be in a lot of meetings.
Not as many as you might think, but still a lot. I certainly employ people who are in way more meetings than I am.
Are they virtual meetings or in person?
Usually virtual.
Do you have a preference?
I would prefer, honestly, a phone call. I don't like Zoom. And I don't know why. Maybe I'm just too Gen X, but there's something about it where I'd rather be able to be stand up, walk around.
Yeah.
And also, like, I have to be looking at my computer if I'm on a Zoom call, which is just like the whole universe is beckoning to me.
Yes.
Whether that's cleaning my desktop, which is actually like the best meeting activity for me. If it's like kind of a meeting where I don't have to be there for the whole thing, but I have to be there for the whole thing. Cleaning the desktop is great because you can still listen. And my desktop, not in a good position ever.
You're just putting stuff on there all the time?
I just flop stuff onto the desktop. Every video that exports to the desktop.
Oh my God.
My OBS exports to a special folder on my desktop.
You're not actually using the desktop like a desktop, like I would assume. You're not actually going to the desktop to find a file. You open Finder and find it in the folder called
Finder.
desktop.
Always Finder, yeah.
So really, it could just be anywhere, couldn't it? And then you wouldn't have to clean it up. You ever thought about that? You just save it, hide it, and then you never need to see it.
I mean, I don't ever see the desktop. The windows don't ever close enough for me to get to it.
I love that. So it's all just there, stacking up on top of each other, 6 layers deep.
Wouldn't want to tell you how many files there are, yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the worst long-going societal changes after the pandemic is that we all do video calls now.
I thought you were going to say that just like we've ruined our desktops.
I mean, potentially. The studies have not been completed, but it could be. We don't know.
Yeah. I mean, like the video call with a bunch of people in it, I wish that everybody would just keep their mics on.
Okay.
Like, unless your dog's barking or unless you've got like a kid in the room with you, just keep your mic on. Because when you're in a meeting, everybody's mic is on.
Yes.
Like when you're in a room together, nobody's muted. And like part of this is like, I make jokes. I'm a comedian. I like telling a joke and then like searching the screen for a smile to like be like, did that land? But I just feel like it's very disconnected in that way. I don't labor under the illusion it's worth getting everybody back in the physical space every single day, though we are working more on getting people into a physical space for like regular offsites or onsites, which I think are really good and important and fun. But the Zoom call when it's 2 people, I'm just like, I don't need to look at you right now.
I agree. I prefer in-person meetings. I do not want every meeting to be in person, though.
Yeah.
I like the important ones, the ones where you feel like you're really doing something. Like I
Mhm.
want that to be in person. But yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Like a lot of this stuff can just be done over the phone, and that would be preferable.
There's like a little Slack thing where you can just like push a button and their Slack rings and they're like, hello?
I
And
didn't know it did this.
I really like that with a person who I know well and we have a good working relationship where I'm just like, I don't want to have like a 15-minute chat right now. I want to like have a 30-second phone call during which we could get all of that done. And it is just like popping into the office. Back when popping into the office used to be a thing. It's like not to be overused. And if somebody pops into the office like every day for 30 minutes at the same time, it's like a problem. But if you just need to like, hey, Matt, I need to know this thing, but I don't just need a fact from you. I need to like a little bit of context along with that fact.
That system is Slack's huddle system.
Yes.
I also like it for the complete opposite of like we're just all going to be in this room and we're not even necessarily talking.
Oh, just like Discord.
Yeah, we're just hanging out while we're working. I've done some work sessions with some colleagues like that, and I enjoy that because that does also feel like it's got that kind of I'm in the office vibe where you're all just sitting there doing your own thing, but every now and then someone will pipe up with something to say. Considering kind of your place in the world professionally, your time is valuable.
Yeah.
Because every moment where you're not in a meeting, you could be creating some piece of content, another idea, a whole other business could be happening. Do you have a strategy for making meetings worth the amount of time they take up for you, or have you just kind of resigned yourself to the fact that you don't have a say?
The majority of the meetings I'm in are one-on-one.
Okay.
So in that case, those meetings tend to go for the amount of time they need to go.
Yep.
They're much more likely to end ahead of time, before time. They are meetings that I have chosen to be in because I need to be providing feedback to and getting context from someone regularly. And so like those meetings, there's a part of me that wishes I was having more of them. So like I have one with our head of production at Complexly. We're talking about like how shows are going, how new ideas are going, how new projects are going, how things are developing. And I think that's really important. I don't have one of those with like our head of development who's in charge of like revenue at Complexly. And I think that I am going to start having one of those more regularly because there's just like a lot I don't understand about that. And
Yep.
it's interesting because like Gabriel's better at production than me. Kelsey's better at development than me. And like I'm better at YouTube than them. So there's a lot that we get from each other, you know?
My assumption is that YouTube is your top work priority. Like it's the top of the funnel. Everything else is benefited from you being on YouTube.
Yeah.
Does it mean that you would push other stuff to the side for YouTube work? Like, is it given that kind of respect because of how important it is to literally everything else functioning?
Yeah. So I have basically 3 buckets of YouTube content. I've got Vlogbrothers, which is a almost 20-year-long project. And that's like the foundation of everything. And so that's something that I can't not do unless like we're retiring, basically.
Yes.
Like we would have to retire from the Vlogbrothers channel to be a very big deal. There'd have to be like a lot of reasons and because I've done it for so long, it's not very hard and it is very validating and very like comfortable and it's a thing that I very much enjoy. And then there is Hank's channel would be the second bit of it, which is like, this is where I make my stuff. And about a year ago, maybe a little less than that, I started to like really focus on it in large part because I wanted to stop focusing on short form. So I was making all of the short form content and I was like, I don't actually feel this great about this. And I think that I can do more and better if I was focused on YouTube. And I think people, like individuals, are better served by the way YouTube works rather than the way shorts or reels or TikTok works.
Definitely. Yep.
So I just wanted to indulge in it a little less. And then I've got like the things that are projects, like Dear Hank and John clips, and then SciShow and Crash Course, and like me hosting stuff or appearing on other people's things, which I kind of think of as all one bucket. And there is like one thing that for me would push everything but Vlogbrothers to a back burner, and that's trying to finish a book.
Huh.
I think that getting books done for me is really important
Why?
because they don't get done without a lot of attention.
Right.
And they are also a format that does something very different than a YouTube video. So the process of writing a book is very gratifying and very hard. The process of getting that book published sucks.
Huh.
It's just like so much more work and so slow. You know, I'll finish this book hopefully in the next couple of months, and then it'll be a year before it's out.
Yep.
Oh, I'm saying that made me nauseous thinking about finishing this book. It's so hard because like the research is both hard, like intellectually, like I'm doing like
Yep.
research on cell receptors and the different ways that cells trigger each other to grow or not grow, or like apoptosis cascades, which are just silly. And like none of this stuff's going in the book, but I have to like know it
Yep.
in order to say a version of it that is both simple and correct.
Yep.
But then also I'm like interviewing like cancer patients, people who are in treatment, people who will have their disease for the rest of their life, people who have lost people. And so I'm like doing this intense emotional research at the same time. As a cancer survivor, it's so hard. It's really rewarding, but it's very hard. But then like the final product of a book is still this thing that in society we understand as something to be taken seriously and for time to be taken with it. And it is not just another YouTube video you watched today. And for topics that I think are worthy of that, I want to write books, and I want to write a book every couple of years. This one hopefully is harder than the rest of them will be. But I have got like some ideas that I really feel like what we understand now is so different from what people think we understand. But like you can't really make a YouTube video about it, or if you do, people aren't going to watch it, or there's just too much groundwork that has to be laid. And I think cancer is a great example of one of those where our perspective on it is just always a little bit caught in the past. I'm talking to Simone Yetch about this, and she said, it's like we have the Lonely Planet guide for 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I was like, God damn, I'm putting that in the book. I
Yeah.
think that's important, and it's something that I want to focus a lot on. And I also think that it can be like more impactful. Things like The Anxious Generation, where it's like these books that get a lot of attention, and it's because they're a book. They have to be packaged in a book for Jonathan Haidt to become like the parenting guru of 2025. Not that I think that's exactly what we need, but it's better than the alternative.
It's interesting hearing you talk about that and saying like this is something that you would prioritize over even Vlogbrothers. Do you see books as like your legacy? It is like a very legitimizing thing, I can imagine, to see your name on a bookshelf. But you have so many other things that you will probably be remembered for more than anything you put on a shelf.
I'm not sure if that's true. It might be. I think that there's an element of I like the format of the book in that I see it as personally legitimizing the way that a lot of YouTubers see a TV show or even like a commercial gig as legitimizing, because they imagine themselves be actors, or if they, you know, directing a movie, like whatever it is that they were excited about at the beginning of their career, they want to work toward that. And a book is definitely, I'm more of a book guy than a TV guy. But I think that there's also like a reality that media doesn't take it seriously unless it's a book.
Yes.
Like never will the New York Times have a review of YouTube videos.
I mean, there should be.
And the other thing is it's a huge amount of investment. And so you take it very seriously. Just yesterday, I was in the SciShow studio, and we had gotten this deal with a big funder, and they'd set up one of our sets to be really pretty. And then I got in there, and like I was bumping the table, and like the light was wiggling a little bit. And Hiroko, who's the producer, was like, we have to figure out how to make this light stop wiggling. And I was like, do we? And she was like, well, once we've made it this perfect, we have to make it all the way perfect.
Yes.
And I was like, so now everybody's here, and we're like, everybody's time is being spent making sure the light doesn't wiggle at all.
I'm good with 95%.
Yeah,
exactly. This is fine.
I've always been like
fine.
more of a 90% kind of guy myself. But with the book, you got to be more intentional, and it's just so much more process of editorial review, and that results in a better product is part of it. But then also, I think that it's easier to move the needle with a book still. In terms of what I want to do is demystify cancer and make people less scared of it. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't be scared of it. But I also, like, another thing I want to do is like demystify cancer treatment and make people less scared of that, because fear of cancer treatment kills people. And like the way that it works now is not how it worked in the 90s. It can be very bad, but it is much less likely to be very bad than it used to be.
It's interesting because it sounds like what you're thinking about with cancer and books in that ilk.
Mm-hmm.
These are personal goals of yours, right? That this is a thing
Yeah.
that I, Hank Green, want to do. And that is separate from some of the business goals. Not that it shouldn't be, but it is just, it's very interesting for me in this conversation to hear you talking about books in this way. And I understand the importance to them, but I'm not sure that it's what I would have imagined hearing you say today.
I mean, I love YouTube videos, and I think that they also move the needle. I just think that they move the needle in a very crowded environment in which a lot of people are moving the needle in different ways.
It's moving a needle. I think they're different needles that they're moving.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And like books move a very specific needle. And I don't know why in 2025 that continues to be the case, but it is that way.
And you see this in discourse too, like the Abundance, the Ezra Klein book. Like if they just like made a bunch of video essays about that, there wouldn't have been national discourse about it. And the national discourse wasn't like all like, we did it, everybody, this is the agenda. But it was like, like I had a friend text me and be like, what do you think of this sort of abundance framing? And he's just a guy. He's like a doctor. He's like a OBGYN. And he was texting me about abundance. And I'm like, Trent, it hit you. You're in the discourse. The discourse got to Trent. Like, that's the thing that, like, you and I especially, I'm so caught up in the discourse that is like the slice of the population who is watching long form YouTube, which is just not most people.
This episode of Cortex is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one website platform that is designed to help you stand out and succeed online. Whether you're just getting started or scaling a business, Squarespace gives you everything that you need to claim your domain, showcase your offerings of a professional website, grow your brand, and get paid all in one place. With Squarespace, you can make the most of their Blueprint AI system. It's an AI-enhanced website builder that will let you quickly and easily build a site bespoke to your business. You just input some basic information about your industry and goals, but it's also super adjustable. I mean, this is the way that I've used Squarespace for years. You choose from one of their beautiful, professionally designed, award-winning website templates, and you can go in and tweak them. They made it easier to get started with the AI system, but you can do it however you want. However you start, you can have beautiful design options with no experience required. That's what's always been so valuable to me about Squarespace. I'm able to just choose a website template and customize it to meet my needs. They've built all of the bones and the structure so I know exactly what my website needs, but I can go in and change logos and fonts, colors, layout, all in a drag and drop interface that I can do on the web or in their app. It is incredible. Then once you have your website going and you want the world to see it, you've got to think about SEO. I mean, and I don't know how to do that. Search engine optimization, I couldn't tell you. But that's why every Squarespace website is optimized to be indexed with meta descriptions, an auto-generated sitemap, and more, so people are able to find your site through search engine results. Go and try it out for yourself. Don't just take my word for it. Go to squarespace.com/cortex. You can sign up for a free trial, build your website, see how easy it is, see how many features you have access to. And then when you're ready to launch it to the world, use the offer code Cortex. You will save 10% of your first purchase of a website or domain. That is squarespace.com/Cortex with the offer code Cortex for 10% of your first purchase and to show your support for the show. A thanks to Squarespace for their support of this show and all of Relay. Clearly, you enjoy acting on new ideas. Otherwise, you wouldn't have had so many things that you have done.
Correct.
How do you choose which ideas are worth pursuing, or who chooses them for you?
Yeah, so that obviously has changed a lot over the years. It used to be that an idea was good if it would cost $1 and make two, or could. In my irrational exuberance late night staring at the ceiling, I felt like maybe that was possible. And even the very first things I ever did, actually, when I think back, ideas were good, not if they would take $1 and make it into two, but if they would take an amount of money I currently had access to and turn it into people paying attention to me, which is what the whole creator economy runs on. So The very first thing I did that I think you could consider a business was called IHateI4.com. I grew up in Orlando, and there's the interstate that runs through Orlando is Interstate 4. And it's a bad place, I4. And I like stole We Buy Houses signs, which I find obnoxious. And then I spray painted a stencil over it that said I4.com. And it was just like a way to get people who were driving on I4 to go to a website. And this was in the 90s. So the websites were relatively new. And people came to the website, and then like also the like local news did a story on it. And I was like, I turned minimal supplies into attention, everybody. Welcome to Hank's rest of his life.
And then a monster was born.
Yeah. But I also was like, how do I advocate for better transportation policy? There was this project being proposed for I4 to create like 2 lanes that would go on top. So there'd be like the lanes below, and then there'd be lanes on top. And those ones you'd have to pay for.
Oh my God. What a metaphor.
So they didn't end up doing that. But yeah, I got to go on the local news and be like, it's Orlando. You really need to live closer to where you work if you want to have your life be better. Which is still true. If you can, you should, even if your house is going to be smaller. But now there's a lot of different things that have to go into the idea. So what's going to make me excited about it? Almost now, an idea isn't good unless I already have a person in mind for who's going to run it.
Ah, okay. How long has that been the case?
Maybe 5 years, maybe
Okay.
3. So like I can't look my wife in the eyes and say, here's this new thing I want to do, unless I'm also saying, here's this old thing I don't want to do anymore.
Yeah.
And so the reality of the list of things we've hit that I do and want to continue doing means that an idea isn't good if it's going to take a lot of my time. So like the reason the cancer book is a good idea, despite the fact that it takes a lot of my time, is that I am particularly well suited to execute it. So like now I have to be careful because there's so much that I could do that I'm focused on things that like aren't going to get done by someone else anywhere near as well as I would be able to do it.
Okay.
And also the outcome I think is really important. And so that's great. That's a great position to be in, especially since I'm relatively young. So like to move outside of my life, what I think makes a good idea is like something that is achievable with the tools and skills that you currently have. And that includes your relationships with other people. Something that is like solving a problem that people have, and something that can turn that ability to solve that problem into a way to sustain itself. So, that might be Patreon, but it might be a product, a physical product that has to be purchased with a profit margin. It might be a subscription service. Like it could be lots of different models, but the solving of the problem has to be able to sustain the solving of the problem.
So you have Good.Store now. Originally, you had a bunch of small businesses, like ideas, right? So you had Awesome Socks Club, you had the coffee subscription. You're kind of like running these businesses. You have some based in soap. And now they're all in the umbrella brand of Good.Store.
Mm-hmm.
Does having the brand Good.Store make it easier to do future products? Because now, like, you don't have to set up an entire business and brand and website. It all can live in the structure that you've built.
Yeah, and that was always the idea.
Yeah.
I've owned that domain name for a long time.
It's a very good domain name. It is good.
I paid out the nose for that domain name a long time before I was using it. But yeah, my initial idea for Good.Store was like, why can't I like shop at Amazon, but have the money go to make the world better instead of to Jeff Bezos?
Mhm.
And so that was the initial idea. And the reason why that idea is bad is that, in fact, in order to make it competitive, I was thinking like, we'll be the Target to Walmart. Like Amazon will be Walmart. What if there was like a Target that was like good stuff? All the stuff there is good. But it turns out that's a really hard business. And there's lots of reasons why running that business requires you to be pretty ruthless. And I'm not a ruthless guy.
Yeah.
And Jeff Bezos is. So he's going to win that one. And also, it turned out people don't care that much about where the money goes. So most people, when they're making a purchasing decision, this was a wild realization. A lot of people are turned off by that message. So if you lead with the profit from this is going to go to charity, what their mind says is, why don't I just make a donation to charity instead of paying extra for this product?
Yeah.
But the actual data supporting it is that when we do marketing, if we lead with 100% to charity, we do not sell the product anywhere near as effectively as when we lead with the good things about the product, like why people like it and why we think it's a good product.
Yeah.
But then if the last message is 100% of the profit to charity, that does increase purchase rates.
That actually makes sense to me for a
Yeah.
different reason. But I would read that as people just want to know why the product's good.
Yes.
Okay, great. The money goes to charity, but is it crap? Like, is it a bad product and the money
Exactly.
goes to charity? Now what am I going to do?
Well, I had been of the opinion of like, as a person who's in the product space, I'm aware that actually most products aren't that different from each other. There are, of course, terrible products. Like if you buy a $15 coat rack, it's going to be much worse than a $95 coat rack.
Yeah.
But if you buy a $200 coat rack, it's going to be identical in terms of functionality to a $90 coat rack. What you're selling there is story. And so I thought the story that I was going to be telling was all the profit goes to charity, but that does not actually tell people anything about the quality of the product. So you can't lead with that. And it gives people a sense that the product may in fact be inferior, because otherwise, why would you be doing this? Also, if people don't know who I am, they think it's scammy.
I can imagine that you're faced with that quite a bit of, well, why are you doing this then? Right? Because I think there's that mentality that people like, surely you just want to be successful so you can buy a yacht or whatever.
Yeah. So when I realized that I wasn't going to become like I don't know, an alternative to Amazon seems like an insane thing to say, but like just a place where people buy stuff because it's a better place to buy stuff. I was kind of going through it, and a super smart marketer, I talked to him and he was like, you know, what you're doing is totally different from what you think you're doing. What you're doing is you're creating a product that you believe in as a person who has an audience that has values. And then you're selling the product inside of your values. And I was like, yeah, that is what I'm doing. And he was like, so just do that with other people too. If you want to grow, the only way you can grow right now is if you grow your audience. But other people already have audiences. So
Yeah.
reach out to Ronaldo and be like, Ronaldo, what do you want to sell? And what charity do you want to support? Now, I don't know Ronaldo, but I do know a lot of YouTubers. Like celebrities do endorsements all the time, and sometimes they make $100 million, but like maybe they want their audience to know that they care about stuff, and that's going to be really valuable to them. And so will the donation that you then make to the situation that they care about. So we just did we've done a couple of little collaborative projects with the McElroy brothers, but we did our first like big collaborative project with Technology Connections, Alec Watson. And it was like amazing. It's our third biggest product of the year.
Oh, that's fantastic to hear, because I saw it and those socks were incredible. They just look so good, and I'm really pleased to hear that it worked. I mean, I would imagine, I don't know, you can tell me. I don't know if that's a hard sell or not with a large amount of creators. Like, do they want to spend time promoting something they get no money for? I genuinely don't know.
I think that we have to make it easy in a way that we really didn't for Alec. He worked so hard. The thing is, like, nobody's like that guy. He's so specific.
Yeah.
First time I ever had like a call with him, I was like, I love your stuff. I'd love to chat. And I got on the phone. I was like, what do you want to do? This is what you got so far. What do you want to do? And he was like, this. And I was like, yeah, but like now that you've got all of these new tools, he's like, I want to do this, but more. I only want to do this, but like there's a bunch of topics that I couldn't cover unless I had money, and now I want to cover those topics. That video, most recent like catalytic converter video, we basically bought a whole car so he could saw a catalytic converter out of it. Like he has a garage now, he's got a lift. So that's what he wanted, but he's never done merch, and he is doing so fine with just Patreon that he's never done advertising. So this was like the first time he'd ever done merch or advertising. And the only reason he did it is because like he wanted to make the world get better while also satiating all these people who are like, give me something to buy from you.
It's clear that you and your brother have been responsible for a lot of good, and that's important to you, because the two of you will not stop and keep coming up with new ways to try and donate more money to more charities. Like, it's an incredibly good thing. Like, I don't think that either of you have to go as hard as you do, but you do. And I think it's amazing. When you started doing this, so this is obviously a notion that the two of you came to at some point in your careers. Would you have hoped that more creators did this kind of stuff?
You could kind of make the case that like the most popular YouTube channel is a little bit of this. Jimmy looks at, you could call him a philanthropist, but like what Jimmy really is like, and everybody knows this and he's very open about it. I'm not saying something mean about Mr. Beast here. He's a YouTube optimizer. He is like, how do you get the most views on a YouTube video? And one of the ways to do that is to give away money or to make a positive impact in the world, to do team trees, to do team Cs, to build a bunch of wells. so people can have access to clean water. And so, like, in a weird way, not only is it common, it's like one of the tools in the most successful YouTube optimizer of all time's arsenal.
I completely agree with what you're saying. I just wouldn't have put the two of you in the same area because
Yeah.
there's a difference,
Uh-huh.
an earnestness, which I think is important that you have that maybe is not. I don't know. I'm not making any judgment. It's just different. It's just a very
Yeah.
different vibe, and it's not my vibe particularly, but your vibe is more my vibe. You know?
Yeah, I also don't watch a lot of Mr. Beast videos.
Yeah.
But also, like, that's not the only thing. It's very easy to kind of see Logan Paul as like everything. A YouTuber figures out how to make himself a billionaire, and that's a lot more money than I'll ever give away. So there is that. But there's also a reality that, like, it's a good job, and I want it to be a good job for people first. I want people to be able to make stuff and make audiences happy for a living. And so I would never begrudge someone who is at the beginning of their career for taking the brand. I take the brand deal money too. Like, I don't donate all of this stuff.
You can't. Like,
I know I have to live. I make
Yes.
enough money from Complexly to like have health insurance and a retirement account and that kind of stuff. That's how I pay myself there, because that's most of my income comes from doing gigs, selling books, and Hank's channel. So like, Vlogbrothers revenue doesn't come to me. Complexly revenue doesn't come. I feel really weird about, like, I need to make sure that Complexly revenue doesn't come to me in any big way. We don't take profit distributions from Complexly because so much of it is crowdfunding that I would feel really weird about being like, buy a Crash Course coin. And then like, ooh, the Crash Course coin was exceptionally successful this year. Extra $100,000 for me.
Yeah.
I can't do that. Same with DFTBA. We don't take distributions there, just to like make it definitely the case no matter what that I am not profiting from Good.Store, even though that has a whole other arm of the business. So there's lots of ways that I still make money. But I had one person at my company say to me, like, are you like financially okay? And I was like, yes, I am. One New York Times bestselling novel like actually does do quite a lot of work. And I sold VidCon to
Yes.
Viacom. So that was
That's
also
fine.
a good day for me. Yeah.
You must enjoy number go up, even if the money doesn't come to you, right? Like that must be something that you draw some excitement from.
Yeah. You would not believe the number of times, even during the Technology Connections sock product, I'm looking at Shopify 20 times a day. I'm seeing how every little optimization we do is affecting things. I'm like really looking at like the pitches that Alec was making and how they were converting and tweaking the pitch from time to time. And one of the things being like, don't start with charity, like end with charity.
Yep.
And then tell people why you want to do this. Like just explain it from your perspective. Why did you want to do this instead of the 1,000 other things you could have done? And Crash Course Coin, I'm the same way. Like none of that money's coming to me, but I'm just like obsessed with seeing how well that's going to do year to year. It's a very big deal for the company. And there's kind of like two stages. There's, oh my gosh, we might not hit the goal. And that's like its own kind of, you have to pay a lot of attention to that. We have an internal goal. And then there's the, oh my gosh, we might exceed the goal. And how exciting is that? And what's that going to enable? And so both of those are very motivating in terms of wanting to look at the thing and see the number go up.
This episode of Cortex is brought to you by Fitbod. If you're looking to change your fitness level, getting started is tough. That is why I'm pleased to let you know that Fitbod is an easy and affordable way to build a fitness plan that is just for you, because you're going to have the best experience when a workout program is tailored to you. Everybody has their own path to personal fitness, so Fitbod uses data to customize things to you exactly. It will adapt as you improve, making sure every workout remains challenging, pushing you to make the progress that you're looking for, but also balancing everything well. They track your fatigue and recovery to design this workout routine for you. You're not going to get bored because the app is mixing up your workouts with new exercises, rep schemes, supersets, and circuits, and also you're not going to be overworking or underworking any muscles, which will negatively impact your results. Fitbod tracks your muscle recovery so you can avoid burnout and keep up your momentum, and it stores all of this information in your Fitbod gym profile along with your body, experience, environment, and goals, the stuff that is unique to you. Fitbod has analyzed billions of data points to make sure that they're going to give you the best workout possible. These have been certified by personal trainers as well. And they have more than 1,000 demonstration videos in their awesome app to make sure that you're going to be learning every exercise the right way. Their app, as well as being awesome, is easy to use. You can stay informed with their progress tracking charts, weekly reports, and sharing cards that let you keep track of your achievements and personal bests and share them with your friends and family. It also integrates with your Apple Watch, Wear OS smartwatch, or apps like Strava, Fitbit, and Apple Health. Personalized training of this quality can be expensive. Fitbod is just $15.99 a month or $95.99 a year, but you can get a huge 25% off your membership when you sign up at fitbod.me/Cortex. So go now and get your customized fitness plan at fitbod.me/Cortex. One last time, that's fitbod.me/Cortex for 25% off your membership. Our thanks to Fitbod for their support of this show and Relay. You mentioned Shopify.
Mm-hmm.
You have Shopify on the home screen of your phone.
Yeah, let's talk about my home screen.
So I am assuming that is because you're checking it a lot because you like to see the numbers going up.
Well, you've seen it in my psychology. Yeah. So I open Shopify and then I can switch between all of our stores. So we have the DFTBA, we have the Pizzamas store, we have the Crash Course Coin inside of there, and we have Good.Store.
How often a day are you checking Shopify? Like on an average day?
Like today, I won't check it at all because we don't have anything big going on. During Q4, I'll be checking it a lot because Christmas stuff. During Pizzamas, I'm checking it a lot. During Crash Course Coin, I'm checking it 5 times, 10 times a day.
When you sent me your home screen, you said for me to ignore how many messages you had. I made 0 promises. And so I would love to know why you have over 3,000 unread messages. I just don't understand how that occurs. What's going on in there?
I don't read my messages.
But like, come on, who are they from?
So I'll get, for example, I had to cancel a therapy appointment. And this morning, my therapist wrote me, "Thanks for letting me know." And I got that as a notification, and I didn't read the text. There's a lot of that. I also, every voicemail I get goes to text messages. I don't know why. I don't feel like I signed up for that. But if I look, like, it's a lot of times, like I read the text on notifications, and then I don't click to read it because I've read it.
I feel like you got to give me an extra 15 minutes at some point in your life, and I think I could help you filter some of this stuff out. Like we can fix some of this.
So I'm at the bottom, and all of these texts are unread, and they are all from friends.
Oh.
And they are all texts I've read.
How do you know you've read them?
Because I read them when they were on my notifications.
But you're not doing anything about it. So like you got a text from a friend, you read it, and then that was just the end? There was no reply?
Yeah, like the last text.
Okay.
William Osmond sent me a heart. That was like his reply to my reply, and that was the end of the conversation.
And that will stay unread until one day one of you initiates a new message.
Yes.
This is fascinating. I've spoken to so many people about their home screens and their devices over the years. I've never come across someone who's like, I just don't open it. It's incredible. That explains how you would have over 3,000 unread messages. That's the reason.
And then I got one from my friend Shorin, and it says, "I'm in your living room, curious if I can borrow your muscles," because he needed to move a bike rack. And I went down and I went into my living room to help him move the bike rack. I didn't open the text. I saw the notification.
I love that you would get a notification that says, "I'm in your living room," and would not open that message.
It's Missoula.
All the doors are open. You don't have a browser on your home screen.
I've got the Google app.
Okay.
That's how I do browser. I open the Google app and I search from there.
So what if it's a website you want to go to? You just open Google and search for it?
I never go to websites I know I want to go to on my phone.
Right. So you're not doing any kind of typical browsing on your phone. You're answering questions on your phone, right? Is essentially what's happening.
What website would I want to go to? Sorry, it's 2025. Does the web still exist?
You have Wikipedia there, though, right? So like similar, like you're looking up stuff?
Yeah, Wikipedia. Wikipedia is a better search engine than Google now for many searches. Just like Reddit, which is not on my home screen.
Man, I feel like I did not budget enough time in this episode to look at this home screen. This is incredible. You're really using your phone in a new and exciting way. What are you learning in Duolingo?
That's actually my son uses Duolingo.
Okay.
He does not have a device right now, but he does Duolingo math and Spanish.
Oh, math. Okay. What are those courses like? Do you ever take a look at them?
Yeah, it's super fun. I mean, my Oren is super into math. He's a very mathy kid.
Right.
He's got lots of ideas, but if you ask him what he's thinking about, he's like, I'm not going to talk about that. But if you ask him what 28 divided by 3 is, he's going to love that. He's going to be working on that, and he'll pop you out the correct answer. So it's great. It's really visual. It's intuitive. It like does stuff not just in terms of absolute numbers, but in terms of like sometimes like vibesy early on, where it's like, okay, so like what portion of 100 is 10? And then you just drag out a little guy. It doesn't even give you a number. You just try to like
that's cool.
visualize how much of 100 is about 10. And if you get it within like a range, it counts it as right. So it's very intuitive and fun. You know, it gives them like all the noises and like it's gamified perfectly that it keeps them going.
The haptics, like the way it vibrates, oh my God, it's so good. Like they got so many little dopamine explosions in Duolingo. I feel like my Duolingo experience is very different to most people's. So my wife was born in Romania, and so I learned Romanian in Duolingo. I've been doing it for a couple of years. They have not put a lot of effort into the Romanian course. So like I see people doing Spanish, like, wow, look at all these features. This looks amazing. It's very basic for me. It's a very, very basic system, which look, I'm not going to argue with. Like Romanian is one of those languages that is useful in one place.
Yeah.
And they all speak English, really, in the main cities. So it's not super useful.
What else surprised you?
I feel like I understand why Airtable's there now. Like that was initially a surprise to me because I find Airtable to be a really complicated and not fun piece of software to use.
I don't know. Maybe I should have called you and been like, Myke, what should I have my project management software be for Hank's channel? But it's working now, so I don't need advice. It's all set up.
I think, honestly, for any kind of like video management, like from all the people that I've spoken to, anything that does one of those like column-based Kanban things, like that seems to be the way that people really value, like how those kinds of things work.
Yeah, so I know where a video is. I know if it's in script, and I have the link to the script, and I know if I get an email when the final cut is delivered, and I can,
So before we finish up, I want to give you the opportunity to tell the Cortex audience about something you're excited on right now.
Okay. Here's honestly what I'm excited about is the real world.
Okay.
I think that it's time for the backlash to begin. I keep visualizing what my phone would look like with a nail through it. That must mean something.
I think that means something
so
important. Text your therapist back, Hank, please.
And so like I've been working on projects like this. So one of the projects is, have you heard about this? It's a prompt journal I made called the Book of Good Times. And the idea of the prompt journal is that it's sentient, but it's trying to become a human. And so it needs you to do tasks for it in order to become more like a human.
Mm-hmm.
And all of those tasks are human tasks. And some of them involve the internet. The internet can be a place where you're a human, but some of them involve sitting under a tree or writing a letter to someone who you haven't talked to in over 10 years or something like that. I bet if you search for a Book of Good Times, you can find it. And I think that's like a good present, like it's present season too, like a lot of focus on Good.Store and like gift baskets, gift bundles, things that you could buy for people. And they're like really like nice soaps and teas and coffee and socks, cozy stuff, bath bombs that you can have and give to a person. And then also they know that they're helping to have a nice cozy time, but also fund a hospital in West Africa that is saving lives already.
I like that you waited to the end, right? And then you put the charity part at the end.
I've trained myself.
I am a very happy Awesome Socks Club subscriber. I've been subscribed for
It's
years,
so
and so I will put a personal recommendation down on that product. It's good for you. It's good as a gift too. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, we have gift structures. So, it can be a bit much to sign up for a gift that's going to keep billing your bank account forever. So we have like 6-month subscription you can buy as a gift or 12-month.
I want to thank Hank for taking time out of his schedule to join me on Cortex, and I really hope that you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. I mentioned earlier that I was going to give you more information about Moretex, which I'm going to, but I want to let you know that I actually have a whole extra segment of this show that I want you to hear, so don't change podcast channel just yet. For now until the end of the year, we are offering 20% off the first year of a Moretex subscription. You can buy this for yourself, you can give it as a gift, or tell someone in your life that this is the perfect stocking stuffer for you, and they can buy it for you. Just go to getmoretex.com and use the code 2025holidays at checkout. So for just $56, you will get an entire year of bonus content and access to all of the bonus content we have ever done on the show. Doing this helps support the show, which means an awful lot to me, and it helps me continue to put so much effort into making it enjoyable and informative for you. Cortex occupies a lot of my working time and has taken up even more so since starting this series. So if you enjoy this show, I would really appreciate it if you would consider becoming a member. You will get the benefit of no ads and extra content with every episode. You just pay once and you get the entire year ad-free with extra content and access to tens and tens of hours of bonus content that me and Gray have made over the years with an ad-free back catalog too. A Moretex subscription also comes with all of the other benefits you get for being a Relay member. You get access to our Discord, a monthly behind-the-scenes newsletter, exclusive wallpaper packs, and access to multiple bonus podcasts every month. You can find out more about these benefits and get all the information you need to give Moretex as a gift for someone in your life by going to giverelay.com. To give you an idea of the content that you've been missing out on, I'm going to include a Moretex segment from a previous episode at the end of this show. I'm going to play to you the segment that I did with John Gruber earlier this year, where we talk about the business behind his website, Daring Fireball. And remember, if you sign up for Moretex, you won't have to hear ads anymore. We're going to take one last break before I play this Moretex segment with John Gruber. But remember, if you sign up, no more ads, so you'll still have a chance before we get into it. And you'll get the Moretex segment for this episode too, where I talk to Hank about what happened to his podcast convention PodCon. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I really hope that you enjoyed my conversation with Hank Green, and I'm really excited for you to hear my final workflow episode for 2025. Please enjoy this taster of Moretex after a quick word from our last sponsor. Don't forget, get 20% off an annual subscription at getmoretex.com when you use the coupon code 2025holidays. There'll be a link in the show notes as well that automatically applies the code. Thank you for your support. This episode of Cortex is brought to you by Stuff. Now, you heard on this episode me and Hank talking a lot about to-do lists, how important they are, and how for someone so busy as Hank, you've got to get this stuff written down, especially when you're doing so many things as him. If you can relate to having lots of things on your plate, you need a to-do system that gets you. And if you want clarity, peace, and focus when it comes to those to-dos, you need to try Stuff. Sometimes it's not your workload that's tiring you out, it's the open loops that your brain is silently juggling. That phone call you have to make, that chair you want to get fixed, that email you never answered. Your brain is keeping track of all of it constantly, and those invisible open loop microstresses are draining. Stuff lets you brain dump everything in your mind, clear those open loops instantly, and then organize it all to handle at the ideal moment. Stuff is a beautifully designed app that is optimized for iPhone and iPad. Plus, it makes capturing tasks easy and frictionless. You can add tasks by typing, talking, or using the camera. It's built to intake information quickly and turn it into actionable tasks right away. They have a listen mode that lets you speak your tasks out loud, so you can look into your cupboards and pantry and say the groceries that you need. Stuff will listen and add them to the right lists automatically. Lists and Stuff are built like completable projects. So that book you want to write, the business you want to get started, or that trip you want to plan can actually start to take form inside Stuff step by step. And the magic of Stuff is that it gets exponentially more powerful the more you feed into it. I've been playing around with Stuff, and it is genuinely one of the best designed iOS apps I've seen in a while. It is doing some really interesting things, and it has all the features that I would want from a to-do app, as well as doing some things in a new and refreshing way. It's full of delightful animation and features that make it fun to use, which I love in an app like this. You want to be encouraged to keep coming back because it becomes an important part of your system. I recommend trying out Stuff if you're looking for a task manager of any kind, be it something simple or something more advanced. Download Stuff for free today by going to trystuff.app, that's trystuff.app, or simply searching for Stuff, Stuff, in the App Store. And to try everything Stuff has to offer, you can get 50% off your first year of extra stuff by using the code STUFF at checkout, that's STUFF, all caps. Get stuff done and start closing your open loops. Download Stuff from the App Store today. Thanks to Stuff for their support of this show and Relay. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about the business model of Daring Fireball and kind of how that's changed over time.
Okay, happy to talk about it.
Obviously, advertising has been a thing that's existed for a long time, but you've also had a membership model as part of Daring Fireball. And this is when I was researching for this episode, I remembered that I was a Daring Fireball member.
Mm-hmm.
and then realized I don't think I am anymore,
No.
and I can't find any reference to
No.
it. So it seems like everybody does membership now, but you stopped?
Yeah, I did it before anybody, I think. And I didn't really stop. I just sort of let it fade away and sort of stopped taking the money from people. And the initial idea was, I started the site in 2002. And there was, at the time, there was nobody making any kind of money on blogs at all. There were no ads on blogs. And I had a whole article in 2003, maybe, where I was one of the very first sites to run Google, whatever they called them, ads.
AdWords,
yeah. It obviously was not a good fit for Daring Fireball, ultimately, and it didn't make much money. And it clearly, the way to make money was to write certain keywords. I wrote this article at the time about design work, and I used this analogy that I had read in an article in a newspaper. I can't find it because it was from the 90s when I was in college and it wasn't on the internet. But it was in the Philadelphia Daily News, the second daily newspaper here in Philly. It was a great article where somebody just wrote, it's the sort of thing newspapers don't do anymore, but some writer or columnist for the paper went to a bunch of men's hair replacement specialists, for men who are losing their hair and want to get like a toupee or a hairpiece or something to make it look like they have more hair. Why do so many men's hair pieces look so bad? Why are they so obvious? And in today's world, you don't really see hair pieces. I think people do hair replacement, or they just go, it's just much more socially acceptable to go bald and just shave your head or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it was more of like an 80s, 70s, 80s thing. Like a lot of men would wear hair pieces that look bad. And the experts, these guys said, oh, it's easy because the way to wear a hair piece is to make it look like you're slightly less bald than you actually are. And that they all would name Bruce Willis, who at the time would wear a hairpiece in a lot of his movies or his TV shows, as like a perfect example, where he had receding hairline at the temples, but it was more hair than he actually had on his natural head. But a good hairpiece costs a lot of money. And when you tell somebody it's going to cost a lot of money, they say, I want a lot of hair. And then you give them what the client asked for, which is a lot of hair, and they wind up with a hairpiece that doesn't look good. And I wrote about, it was about doing freelance design, which I had done, was the main thing I had supported myself with before Daring Fireball was a full-time job. And it was sort of similar with design, where it's like to make a good website or, in later years, an app or something for a client might cost a lot of money for a good team and good designers, but the right answer might be a very minimal, small solution. But you tell a client that it's going to cost a lot of money and they say, I want a lot of website. I want a lot of menus at the top. I want to see a lot. And anyway, that article gave me AdWords for men's hair replacement things. And because it was a new and a novelty and I had introduced it, I didn't tell people, please click my ads. That was against the rules, as it should be, but it was pay per click. But people were trying to support me, and so they were clicking. And those ads happened to be incredibly high pay per click compared to my other ads. But that wasn't my site isn't about men's hair replacement. I just used an analogy in one article. And all of a sudden I went from making like, I don't know, $8 a day or something, probably less from the AdWords, to I was making like hundreds of dollars a day for a week with those. And I was like, oh, this is awful. Don't do that, because it's going to motivate me to write about things for the keywords. Matt Howey wrote a PVR blog for a long time, a couple of years, I should say, but it was about like TiVo and TiVo's rivals in that era. And the whole blog was about DVRs. That's all he blogged about on that blog. And he had AdWords, and he'd get the DVR AdWords, and they were good pay-per-click ads. And so it was win-win, because he was getting relevant ads and they were high pay-per-click, but the ones I was getting weren't. So anyway, I came up with this membership system, and I thought, well, people want full feed RSS. And I had a free RSS feed with just the article excerpts, and you had to pay $19 a year, just a year. And then one of the perks was you'd get a unique URL to get the full feed RSS, not a password, but a unique URL, because that's what worked with feed readers. But then Google Reader came out, and that's not how Google Reader was meant. And so people would search in Google Reader, and there were like hundreds of Daring Fireball RSS feeds, because it was each unique string was showing up from each person who put it there. And then there was the one that I wanted there for the public to use, which was excerpts only. But any normal person who was searching for the feed would be like, well, why would I want this one without the articles? I want the one with the articles, and they'd subscribe to one of those. And I thought, this isn't going to work. And I thought, I got to think of something else. And I thought, well, what if I just charge for a weekly sponsorship, and the weekly sponsor got to add an article to the RSS feed just in their own voice? And that was like 2006 or 7. And here it is 19 years later, and it's still the primary source of income for the site. And I could make the RSS feed full content free for everybody.
Yep.
But then I didn't have any other perks for members, so I just sort of let it fade away.
I mean, you were in the age of email newsletters now, right?
Yeah.
You've never felt a desire to do that kind of thing?
No, well, I should, and I might add. I really might. I don't like talking about unannounced features, much like Apple, but I should probably have a membership thing. I don't know, $10-15 a month, and that you'd get extra content, and something like what ATP does, or what you guys do at Relay with a bunch of or like I guess we're talking about right now,
Yes.
a members only extra, like make the last act of each episode of the talk show members only, and charge some number of dollars a month,
and remove the ads. People like that.
See, that's part of the problem. I know that they do, but I don't want to remove the ads, because I don't like to think of the ads as being detrimental.
Interesting. Okay.
And sometimes in my show, because I read the ads live during the thing, oftentimes the conversation will turn to what we just talked about in the sponsor read.
You do a very good job with that. That works quite nicely. You do integrate the ads into the content better than most.
So I don't know. I guess if I tried that, I would try it first by not removing the ads, but encouraging members who don't like the ads to be guilt-free about skipping them, And I do put them in the chapters.
Yep.
And so I can't see why you're listening to the show using a client that doesn't support chapters. And we do put the ads in the chapters. So, and if you haven't been skipping because you feel like you shouldn't out of some kind of guilt, then just go ahead and skip.
But talking about podcasts and money, though, you have a very interesting model in Dithering, which is a purely 100% paid podcast, which is I find to be a very curious and fascinating business model. It will only work in certain scenarios.
Right.
I assume it works very well for you and Ben.
Yeah, it's very profitable.
What was your initial thought to Dithering? Was it something you thought would work?
Yeah, I wasn't sure how well, and I honest to God don't remember how much of it was Ben's idea and how much was mine. I think it was a little bit, I'm going to say more 60-40 Ben's to mine. But I know that I don't do enough new things, and doing a new thing, and I forget when we started. I know we launched in 2020.
During COVID.
During COVID, but I can't remember whether we were already set to do it before COVID hit in March. We'd certainly been talking about it. I just don't know how certain it was. I think we launched in April, and so I think it was already in the works, and it was sort of coincidental, but it sort of accelerated it. But I loved the idea, the neatness of it's like the complete opposite of the talk show, where the talk show is entirely free for everybody with sponsors. And this would be a show that is $5 a month, or maybe it was $4 at the time, and I think it's $6 or $7 now, or built into the Stratechery bundle with no ads. And with the complete opposite of my show, a profoundly short and limited 15 minutes on the button every episode, and a regular publishing schedule.
Yep.
All things different.
Yeah.
No, but I think that's what makes it interesting, right?
Is.
That every single aspect of it is different, other than the way I sound.
I mean, also, Ben's a perfect co-host. I mean, I remember when Dithering came around, like I said to you both, like my favorite episodes of the talk show were the ones that Ben was on.
Yeah.
I mean, I do also miss the fact that Ben's not on the talk show.
Yeah, and that's
because you two. Sometimes I'm listening to I just listened to the episode of Dithering that came out about Jeff Williams. I actually wanted to hear you two go longer on that.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure you must feel sometimes.
I do, and we don't have a thing like we can't have him on the talk show, but it just never comes up.
Because saying about that, I was talking to my wife about recording the show today, and she was like, I was talking about the stuff that you do, and she was surprised that you do have a business partner, because she's aware of you as kind of quite like a solo act, essentially. Right. Do you have, and I know you've had other projects in the past, like Vespa, which is a notes app that you worked on.
Yeah.
In working with Ben and working on your own, what is that experience like? Do you like having collaborators, or do you prefer to be solo? Do you take different things from each experience?
I like having Ben as a collaborator. I loved making Vesper with collaborators. Until it wasn't good, I liked the early years of the talk show with Dan Benjamin. And you're going back to college. I loved working at my student newspaper with a team, a really amazingly talented team. Just unbelievable luck of how many good people, at a university without a journalism program. And most of us were from like the engineering college, or I was studying computer science. It was an amazing group of people. And I really loved the collaboration of it. But it's like, I've made this thing for me that is more not in form, but in mentality, to be like being a novelist at Daring Fireball. You don't really think that novelists have collaborators, but that's sort of how I do Daring Fireball. I like it. I mean, I think I get along with people. I enjoy it. I enjoy the episode that just came out today. It was the one where Ben came up with an idea that I had myself, but it was when I was like drifting off to sleep. So I didn't write it down and I'd forgotten it, and it came up, and it's like, I think a really, really key insight. And, here we are 5 years into it, and it feels as fresh as ever. I kind of hoped that it would, but it doesn't feel like, this is getting old. It feels like, no, this is great. I could do this, into the foreseeable future.
Remember, if you enjoyed that, you're going to love Moretex. Go to getmoretex.com and use the code 2025 holidays at checkout. You'll get 20% off an annual Moretex subscription. You'll support the show, and I'll be very grateful. You can also find a link in the show notes that will pre-populate all of that for you. So all you have to do is enter your credit card. Thank you so much.